Alright, here we go. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today we are going to be talking about the film The Birth of a Nation. Now this is not a remake of the film which came out a number of years ago, which kind of showed the Ku Klux Klan in a good light. It's not that type of movie whatsoever. It's a new movie which focuses on Nat Turner's rebellion back in the 1830s, I think, and it's called The Birth of a Nation because it is, in that sense, a birth of a nation. So let's talk about this film. Nate Parker, he plays the main character in this film. He plays Nat Turner, and one thing that I really appreciate about this film is Nat Turner's arc, because we see him as a child to start out with. We see the things that he witnesses as a child and how he ends up becoming literate as a child, and we see how that kind of sets up his course of life as a preacher, and how that just informs his place among this plantation and his status among his masters, his white masters. And then as the film plays out, he sees more and more things which just trouble him and start to go against what he believes, and you just get to see kind of his mental transformation and just kind of being settled with his place in life, and then just ultimately wanting to break away from it and rebel. Armie Hammer is also in this film. He plays Nat Turner's master. I thought that he also did a very good job. All the actors in this film, fantastic performances. It's that kind of movie where you are going to get fantastic performances out of every single actor in this movie. I thought they all did phenomenal. Armie Hammer also did a very good job. I really liked his relationship with Nat Turner, at least in the beginning as well, because they kind of set him up as being like this guy who is his master, but he's not a dick, at least at first, and he doesn't just like control his slaves with like force. He just like treats them as decent people. Still a dick for having slaves, but he's not the worst of the worst. And then Aja Naomi King, she is also in this film. She is more recently known for How to Get Away with Murder, which is a fantastic show, which I watch and I really enjoy. She's also in this film. She plays Nat Turner's wife, and she also does a very good job. She does some of the most impressive acting in this film, especially in some scenes where she is very badly injured, and the prosthetics that are used during those scenes are just very good, and you can hardly even tell that there's anything even going on in that regard. Now, one thing which might hinder some people from enjoying the film as much as you're going to possibly be able to is the fact that it is a very slow moving movie. It's very slow paced, and the events just kind of move along at a gradual arc because they try to basically set up Nat Turner's rebellion because it took place within 48 hours. It's a very short-lived rebellion, and so much of the movie just focuses on leading up to that event instead of actually focusing on the rebellion itself. And so that's how the film just kind of moves very slowly. We get to see Nat Turner's ideologies just slowly shift as he sees more and more things, more and more grotesque things, and just sees kind of the dark side of the slave world, or at least the darker side. The film also has historical relevance because back in the 1800s there were a number of slave rebellions which were taking place as slaves were growing more literate and they were becoming more and more fed up with dealing with white masters, which makes sense. And this is leading up to the Civil War as well, and so this rebellion is one of the more known about ones in history for whatever reason. But I just remember learning about this one in particular in history classes that I've taken. And so the historical relevance of this film is very good, and they kind of show that in the last scene of the film in regards to kind of like how this event kind of set up more events to come. I will say this about the film. I don't know if it's a problem with the film per se, and I don't think that it is. It's just something that I feel like I have to address, and that's the fact that it's not terribly relatable for me. There were scenes during which I had audience members in my theater just applauding, and I just had no reaction or no urgency to do that during certain scenes in the film. and that just kind of made me realize, oh hey, this film isn't necessarily for me, it's not necessarily addressed to me, it's not something that I can really relate to as a white male of male privilege in this country. That being said, this film is going to have much more of an impact on certain people than others, and that's just kind of how it goes. That goes with any movie per se, but this one is kind of more than others. And there were scenes which stood out to me, especially towards the end when you just have the consequences of this rebellion being shown, and very hard to watch scenes, especially just even scenes leading up to it, where you see just the brutality of these masters, these slave masters, and just how cruel some of them are willing to be. Like there's a scene where you have a slave who's trying to do a hunger strike and just not wanting to eat, and then you just have a slave master just like picking the teeth out of this guy's mouth and then putting a funnel down to force him to eat food. It's just so hard to watch in that regard, and those scenes, more than any, those ones are the ones that really got to me and which were very difficult to watch. So I can appreciate that material and how heavy it is. I just think that in regards to relatability, it's going to relate more to a certain demographic than it is to me personally. But as this is technically a biopic, it also has a biopic ending, which I really appreciated. In regards to, it shows us what ultimately happened to Nat Turner after the events of this film, and also what the consequences of his actions ultimately led into in regards to some aspects of American history. Birth of a Nation, it's a very, very well made film. It's a very good film. I thought performances were fantastic. I really liked how they showcased Nat Turner's arc. I thought they all did that very, very well. It's just also a very slow paced movie. It's not necessarily something which is going to be relatable to every single person who watches it. So there are just those aspects to consider before going to see it. But guys, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, share, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.